Welcome back to the BetCanada Challenge. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have waited long enough. The NFL returns tonight. Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles will host the Dallas Cowboys in the annual Thursday night kickoff classic. There are so many ways to go about this game. Obviously, a heated rivalry, a long time rivalry between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys certainly a storyline right now, as they felt maybe the best way to get their team going into 2025 was subtraction by addition, perhaps. They come into this game as an 8.5 point underdog. But there are some kind of positives here in regards to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott holds a career 9-4 record against Philadelphia Eagles, thrown for over 300 and over 3,400 yards in those 13 games. Touchdown interception ratio to 24-8. Those are some positives. CeeDee Lamb is certainly one of the top offensive playmakers in the entire NFL. George Pickens comes to Dallas, and George Pickens is always that guy where it seems like it starts really positive. But if the team can't stay positive and stay winning, then maybe you find and you see, the issues that lie within George Pickens. Dallas certainly comes into this game missing a major piece. And as to what was the ultimate decision to trade away Micah Parsons, only Jerry Jones and the voices inside his head can probably answer that question. Certainly brought back defensive tackle Kenny Clark, who's been a solid NFL pro throughout his time. But the film from 2024 couldn't be ignored. And Kenny Clark at this point kind of looked like a guy who was maybe struggling. Not saying that that can't change and Clark can't get back to the guy he was revered for being for a long time. But I don't think it was, too much love lost in Green Bay, moving Kevin Kenny Clark in this deal to bring Micah Parsons to Green Bay. It's going to be an event in Philadelphia. There's just no question about it. There's not a city in America that can do big things big quite like Philadelphia. And when they get their opportunity to shine and celebrate, nothing gets held back. So the environment, it's always difficult in Philadelphia, but you're going to amplify that probably by 10 tomorrow night. A night game, certainly celebrating the championship. It's going to be a really, really difficult experience for the Dallas Cowboys to go into this game. But that again is another reason that I kind of, and I'm not sure I think Dallas is going to win this game, but I think Dallas can keep this game close. They'll have nothing to lose, the Dallas Cowboys. And one of the biggest differences between professional sports and amateur sports is that having nothing to lose. The Cowboys come in as 8.5 point underdogs. Nobody thinks they have an opportunity in a game like this. But you factor in some things that Philly has been strong in the last couple of years. Stout secondary play. And it's not that they still don't have great secondary players. They don't necessarily have the pecking order figured out just yet in the secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of questions about who is ultimately going to be, the running mate at the cornerback position opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. Veteran Adoree Jackson is but there. Adoree Jackson at this point in career is probably not exactly the same player he used to be. You have, Jacarian Bennett, who was brought in from the Las Vegas Raiders. He's had a really, really nice camp for the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are really excited to have him there. But still, it's a work in progress. Cooper DeJean, is he the nickel in nickel and dime situations? Is he a base safety? You kinda have a couple of safeties there already in Sidney Brown, and of course, in Reed Blankenship, who are holdovers for a couple of years now. You have the rookie, Andrew Macumba, who had a big pick six interception return in week 2 of the preseason against the Cleveland Browns. It's a lot of moving parts, and this is probably an advantage for Dallas to play them in week 1, is they don't necessarily have the rotation down or how they exactly want it yet in Philly. For a guy as established as Dak Prescott, with a weapon as efficient and just a guy that just pops on screen as CeeDee Lamb, that opportunity is certainly there for Dallas to create havoc in a secondary that has some guys that might be playing multiple positions. So you're certainly worried about the communication, certainly worried about the coverage schemes for Philadelphia, things that could maybe be an Achilles heel in this game. For Philly, they don't necessarily ever rebuild in Philadelphia. They reload. But you can't deny what players like Josh Sweat has done in Philadelphia, what Milton Williams did in Philadelphia, and of course, Brandon Graham, who was just an absolute top shelf professional in his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, there's players and very talented players who are going to step in for the guys who are missing. We're gonna get the all Georgia defensive tackle front for Philadelphia pretty much all the time now. We all know about the abilities, of course, of Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis has been no slouch, and obviously the opportunity for him to become higher in the pecking order, become one of the guys that maybe can become, Philadelphia Eagles defensive line lore is there. You look at the outside, Moro Ojamo is a guy who made some plays in the Super Bowl last year. Will Smith is Nolan Smith is a guy that's really, really starting to progress. And for a lot of people that knocked him for being undersized, and maybe his game was mostly relative on speed. Those things are not necessarily wrong, but Nolan Smith brings that element to this Eagles defense. And whether it's running plays down from the backside or whether it is stringing stretch plays, jet sweeps out to the sideline, just due to his overall speed, Nolan Smith has found a way to use what is his positive and just fit in to this Eagles defense. You certainly are going to keep your eyes out for a guy like Jalax Hunt. 2 sacks in the Super Bowl last year, one of the most egregious 15-yard penalties I've ever seen in an NFL game, followed one of those penalties, of course. But another guy who is just super, super fast. And Philly found this and found a way to take what his best ability was and find it to fit within the overall scheme of their defense. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama was one of the more interesting prospects in the entire 2025 NFL draft. And the reason he kind of fell through the cracks was certainly because he had to have surgery during the draft process and, kind of just fell off of teams' radars because it was a gamble to take him. That's how he falls into the lap later in the draft of a team that if he was not ready right away, which Campbell is, currently penciled in as a starter on the Eagles depth chart. Good teams can take chances or can take players that they may have to wait on, and that's why they remain good teams. So Campbell's certainly a player that could be big time. We mentioned Macumba out of Texas, and just another guy that's going to fit into this Philadelphia Eagles secondary, and just a guy that can make plays. But I am telling you right now, the Eagles' offense is there, locked, loaded, great offensive line, great running game, a bevy of weapons. But I think with all the changes that are going on for Philadelphia, and I think that the moment can be so big and so exciting It's not that it's necessarily gonna hurt Philadelphia. I think it's just gonna amp up a Dallas team that after this Micah Parsons trade, it's not that they didn't like Micah, but I think a lot of guys in that Cowboys locker room kind of feel disrespected after the Micah Parsons trade, where basically a lot of people, including myself, said this team is absolutely dead in the water. I'm not necessarily sure the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game in Philadelphia to start the 2025 NFL regular season, but at 8.5 point spread, I think the Cowboys are going to keep this game close and certainly could challenge to win this game in the fourth quarter. The NFL is back. I'm excited. You're excited. The Bet Canada channel is excited. Make sure you leave us some comments. Make sure you like the video. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Bet Canada channel. I am Jeff Lloyd, and we will be back talking more week one NFL